everybody, and welcome to this special Friday live episode here from the
Geek
Buddies! Hey! There you go. Trial by fire for our guest. Welcome, everybody, to this live episode of the Geek Buddies. We're so excited that you all are joining us here. Of course, shout out to our friend Michael Vogel, who's in New Zealand. I hope he's watching right now in another time zone on another day in another time. So fascinating to have him joining us. I hope you're watching Vogel from New Zealand. But we are very excited to be jumping into all the stuff that happened this week in the world of geekery. We've got conversations to talk about with Jenna Ortega joining Beetlejuice 2 possibly. We've got Jon Bernthal coming back to the MCU, but not Foggy Nelson and maybe not Karen Page. So a lot of questions. We've got a big Marvel news dump as well. There's some trailers we're going to dive into. And our big main topic today is, of course, going to be our final Oscars predictions as we are on the precipice of the Oscars happening on Sunday night. So let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies. Shannon?
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you can see me right now if you have the Stars app in the season premiere of Party Down.
That's right. And joining us for this live show, the first time he has come on to the show, very happy to introduce to you all the creator, critic, pundit, man who knows about movies like crazy and pop culture, a great Griffin Schiller. How are you, Griffin?
Wow. What? That's one hell of an intro. Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm stoked to be here, stoked to do the rundown, be a part of the show. This is it feels weighty. I hope I fill the seat well. You know, that's my big concern.
Well, you called him fat. I didn't. So you'll have to deal with that later.
Wow. I wasn't even going there.
He just booked an earlier flight. He's coming back right now.
I can see him texting me. Give me the link. I'm coming in.
See snipers outside the door.
But we should also say Griffin is the creator and host for FILMSPEAK, this fantastic YouTube channel that does film essays every week about films, both current and films that have gone by. And he had just crossed 100,000 subscribers earlier this week. So shout out to you, Griffin. I mean, what an incredible job you've done. You know, we've become friends through the Hollywood Critics Association, but mutual respect for each other's work, and certainly watching how you've ascended with the work that you've done and the really fantastic video essays that you create. And I know you spend a lot of time on. It's just great. I think it's 100,000 subscribers, well deserved for you, man, and the channel.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's like, honestly, this is like the first time I've really like talked about it with other. I mean, I was outside of like my personal circle of friends and family and everyone, but like, yeah, I mean, like outside of just like the Twitter post, like I haven't even gone live on my channel yet. I'm still trying to set that up, so it's all like I'm just like, wow, this is something I've been working towards for a while, and to hit that milestone is yeah, it's awesome. But thank you for your kind words. I mean, I really appreciate that. Like I said, you're someone I respect in the space a lot, and so I enjoy watching your content and your guys' podcast, and it's awesome. So I'm very honored to be. I genuinely mean it when I say I'm very honored to be here. So
thank you, and it's very kind of you, Griffin. And as we're looking at Griffin's website or YouTube channel here, FILMSPEAK, you see all these great, fantastic breakdowns and analysis that he has. I mean, these thumbnails are very, very good thumbnails. They're well worth your watch. He has shown me or sent me scripts sometimes that he has worked on. It's incredible to read the analysis and the deep dives that he does with this kind of stuff. And, he's not afraid to take a stance. He's not afraid to have thoughts on all the things that he's talking about, which I really appreciate about Griffin. So if you guys haven't checked out FILMSPEAK, you should absolutely head over there and watch some of these essays and really get even more knowledgeable about the films that you love or maybe even hate. So it's fun to do that as well. So we are very honored to have Griffin hanging out with us today to jump into all the madness that is the Geek Buddies, man. And real quick before we start, Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. It's a live show. We've got a Super Chat right off the bat. It's JMB saying, I know this isn't a geek topic per se, but Rocha, Shannon, or Griffin, have you been watching the WBC? Thanks as always. And hi, Griffin. What is WBC?
Hello.
I don't know.
J&B, can you clarify what the WBC is? World Boxing Council? I don't know what that is. So
I was thinking something like with because I know you like wrestling, and so I'm like, is this a wrestling thing or is this like a fighting thing? I don't know.
Shannon, your thoughts? What's your speculation on what's WBC? I have no idea.
I mean, I saw WBC as like, is that women's basketball chain? Like, no, that's not. Is it World Boxing Championship?
World Baseball Classic. J&B, this is a geek show. No one's watching a World Baseball Classic up in here. All right, let's move on. Come on, man. Please. All right, let's move. I don't think the parents of the players are watching the World Baseball Classic. No offense, but let's move on. All right, the way the show we got to give some love to, of course, Carbon Health, who continues to power and sponsor us on the Geek Buddies through the month of March. We are losing them at the end of March, but that doesn't mean they stop being great people who can help you with their healthcare questions, concerns, or needs. So head on over there and click on there, or download the app to have a doc in your pocket so they can help you with any of those concerns or needs on the go. Great people over there, and they're focusing on mental health. They put on some new programs here to help people who are enduring mental health stuff or going through tough periods in their lives. Go and take advantage of the great programs they have there to help you out if you're in a tough spot right now. And if you are in a tough spot, hang out with us. We're going to try to make you laugh and entertain you here as we have some fun talking about these geek news topics, bust each other's balls, and argue over Oscar predictions later on in the show.
Man.
It's going to be fun. The way the show works is each of us brings up a geek news item. We talk about it amongst ourselves, and we take a big break and jump into our main topic, which is, of course, Oscars predictions. But let's start, number one, with this news that dropped yesterday on the Hot Mic and also on the Hollywood Reporter and Variety. To be fair, they had reporters that were on it but weren't willing to publish it just yet. But because Jeff doesn't care about putting his balls out there, he put it out there yesterday on the Hot Mic on our show that Jenna Ortega is in talks to be in Beetlejuice 2 to play Winona Ryder's daughter. And it is because of all the attention and acclaim that she's gotten working with Tim Burton on Wednesday that she felt like she wanted to be part of this project. So, gentlemen, what do you think of this idea of Jenna Ortega being a part of this? And it seems like this is actually finally going to happen.
I mean, I think Griffin should go first. He's the guest.
Please, Griffin.
Oh man, put me on the spot. I think Jenna Ortega, that casting makes a lot of sense. And especially, given her work with Tim Burton on Wednesday, and that becoming a phenomenon, her in the Scream films and all, and I mean X, like she's kind of carved out a niche for herself in like. I don't want to say like horror specifically, but it is that kind of like gothic, like she's sort of like this generation's Winona Ryder, right? Like I think that's sort of what I'm getting from her, and knowing that she's basically going to be in a Beetlejuice movie like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm not really all that surprised. I guess the one thing that is surprising is that this is actually happening. Like the movie is happening. I know they've been talking about it for God, I don't even know how, like, it feels like years and years that this has been like, oh, Beetlejuice 2, it might happen. And so the fact that, like, I guess now if she's attached, then, like, it's legit, it's for real, they're going to move forward with it. I guess they figured out a story. I mean, I can't say I have the utmost confidence in Tim Burton right now. I love the guy, but I mean, outside of, like, the stuff he directed in Wednesday, which was not just him, outside of that, I mean, he's really been he has not had a good streak of films in a while, which is depressing because that guy, like, dude, 90s, 80s, early 2000s, he was just constantly knocking it out of the park. Like even something like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I know is divisive, is something that I grew up with and was a big fan of. And so I have my issues with the fact that they're doing a Beetlejuice sequel to begin with, because I'm just sort of like, why? What, like, out of all of the Burton things that we have out there, you want to make a sequel to that? And it's just like, it just kind of goes back to the idea that there are no original blockbusters anymore. Everything is always a spin-off, a sequel, a prequel, or whatever of something pre-existing from like the 80s or whatever. And I guess it's because studios just don't want to take a chance anymore. And it's starting to scare me because it's like, we're not getting like new and original like things that can then go on and become the next Beetlejuice or the next Star Wars or whatever. You know, it's just, we keep recycling the same things. And I have a feeling it's probably going to fizzle out at some point, but I mean, good for Jenna Ortega. I just, I don't really care about it, to be honest.
All right. Well, you talk about the idea of new stuff, but they do recycle, but there's also new stuff. It just doesn't catch on. 65 is getting eviscerated by the reviews and the
me out.
reactions. And there's a reason Sony didn't screen that thing until 9 a.m. yesterday on their lot. You had to go to their lot to watch it. Most people are working at 9 a.m., either at their jobs or at regular jobs. So, Shannon, what are your thoughts when you hear about Jenna Ortega? Does this make sense? Does she have that Winona Ryder emo vibe from back in the 1980s? Or do you think this, like Griffin, like it's not a big deal? You don't care about it?
Well, I mean, I think any chance to get Michael Keaton back in that makeup, I'm actually excited to see, just because, the movie, I enjoy Beetlejuice. Like, Beetlejuice was a movie of my childhood, but I mean, Michael Keaton, is that movie. Despite the fact that, that all the relationships, everything with Lydia Dietz, all of the Dietzes, it was really, really enjoyable. But Michael Keaton is that movie.
Yeah.
Now, on the surface, when you look at Jenna Ortega's most recent work in Wednesday, her being the daughter of Lydia Dietz completely makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting choice for her because Wednesday Addams and Lydia Dietz, those characters are pretty similar.
Good point.
So I'm wondering if there's some interesting twist to this, at least to the character, at least, that would get her to sign on.
Yeah.
Because again, they seem very, very similar. Now, as to Griffin's point about a lack of original ideas, I mean, yeah, there are. I mean, it seems like even like the things that, Vogel and I get to work on.
Yeah.
It's tough to get an original idea going. I mean, if you can have something tied to a pre-existing IP, that definitely helps your case, but it's still not a done deal. I mean, we've been working on a thing for a few years now that we really want to go, and it just hasn't quite gotten there yet. It could, like, we'll see. But Jenna Ortega in Beetlejuice 2, it's going to be funny if it was her signing on. That is the thing that finally kicks this movie into high gear. I mean, for years they had talked about Beetlejuice goes Hawaiian. But if you,
dear God,
I know.
If you look at the end of the Beetlejuice film, like, Beetlejuice is a bad guy, and he's got a tiny little head. When you watch the animated series, that's where Beetlejuice and Lydia have this relationship. But I would imagine most of the movie-going audience now is not aware of the Beetlejuice animated series where they're buddies. So if the movie actually happens, we'll see, because they've been talking about it for a long time. But then you also think about all of these things that, kind of franchises that end up getting these legacy sequels years later. How often does it turn out well? I mean, I wasn't a big fan of The Matrix 4. So it's certainly possible that it could happen and turn out well, but it seems like the deck is kind of stacked against it. That being said, a chance to see Michael Keaton revisit that character, I would certainly welcome. And I think Jenna Ortega would be a great foil for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up an interesting point. Could we have Jenna play the reverse of what she played in Wednesdays? This bright, cheery-eyed, optimistic, want to be really girly, what you consider to be girly character as a as a way of pushing back against her mom, because Lydia would be the more brooding, introspective, introvert type of character, which is the reverse of what happened in the first movie. So it would be like, kind of like mother like daughter, in that I don't want to be like you, I'm different. Like she was different than Catherine O'Hara and Jeffrey Jones, she would be different to Winona Ryder. So that could be a very interesting twist if she's this bright, cheery-eyed sorority girl and then gets involved with this whole thing with Beetlejuice. That could be fascinating. I hope we're not having Beetlejuice trying to marry her. That would be really weird and creepy. So maybe what if Beetlejuice has a kid himself? That could be very interesting to play with that as well. My question, though, comes down to, and I brought this up on the hot mic yesterday, you can't bring back Jeffrey Jones. You can't bring back Alec Baldwin, I think, with all that Rush shit hanging over him. And Gina Davis is a possibility, but the ghosts don't age. So how would you do that? Would you have to de-age her? And it could be Catherine O'Hara is still around, so she could be a part of this. It could be funny if it's all women against Beetlejuice, who, of course, was one of the most misogynistic guys. So what if this is a thing where it's, Catherine O'Hara, Lydia, Jenna Ortega, and even maybe Gina Davis all lining up against Beetlejuice and what he's trying to do? That could be a fascinating thing to explore as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is that, obviously not Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
But my guess is that that couple, they would be gone. That that Catherine O'Hara, absolutely. Like you want her in sort of that comedic trio. Yeah. But my guess is that we don't revisit that house. That's the majority of the movie is going to take place someplace else. And I could be 100% wrong, but that would be my guess.
That would be smart, right? Like you don't want to be too gratuitous with the stuff that you're like bringing back. Like it's going to take place in the same house and everything. Like no, you got to change things up a little bit if you're going to be bringing back all of these characters and like having a similar, maybe like flipped dynamic that you had in that first film. Like I'd at least like to see them live in a different place or just you know or whatever, or just show that the characters have gone through some sort of growth since we last saw them, and maybe that means moving on and whatever. So but and then that also doesn't take into account like all the off-screen issues with some of these people. It's sort of like, oh yeah, we don't really need them anymore, so we could just write it out. But you do bring up an interesting point about having Jenna Ortega be more like a bubbly, outgoing kind of character. In contrast to Lydia. I would be, if they go that route, I could see a way where this works, because then Lydia obviously has to go through the same thing, like you said, like she has to go through the same thing that she went through with her mom and everything like that. So, which is really interesting. But part of me is like, but are they going to do that? Because I mean, I trust Jenna Ortega to do, like, she has the ability to do something, like to play a character like that. But the stuff that she's really known for right now and beloved for is the stuff that made, Lydia so beloved in that first Beetlejuice. So I'm thinking like she's probably going to be closer to her mom than anything, because they want to play into like what people are really hyped about her right now, especially like, if Jenna Ortega was the missing piece that made Burton go, I think I see a way to do this, then I have to imagine it was what she was doing on Wednesday and all of that stuff. So I don't know. Like, I would like to believe that what you're saying, John, is like 100% the way they're going, because that's kind of a smart way to approach this, a sequel that people are just sort of like, what? But I don't know. I don't have faith.
Yeah, I don't know either, because like, look, Force Awakens essentially, copied a lot of A New Hope and made all kinds of money. Top Gun Maverick came out, and it's essentially a version of Top Gun that we'd already gotten that hit some of the same beats. Although it did some things new and different, it kind of walked the same path. So will they be willing to make if you turned her into this like young Republican MAGA young girl, that would be so interesting. They would never have the guts to do it, but it would be interesting to explore that. So we'll see what happens. And she's just in talks. It's not 100% done yet, but Keaton is on the upswing with Dope Sick and all these things that have happened around him. Catherine O'Hara with Schitt's Creek is on the upswing and everything that she's doing. So, and Jenna Ortega and Winona Ryder even with Stranger Things. So like, clearly they're all still in the pop culture zeitgeist. So now seems to be like the perfect time to put this thing in motion and take advantage of their status right now. So we shall see. For sure. We got another super chat that came through here from Gallup Productions. Says, geez, they'll just let anybody on. LOL. But for real, nice seeing Griffin on this panel. Someone here, Griffin?
No, I have no idea. I just found it funny. So. I was just like, well, they just texted us like, hey.
Oh my God. Keep it down, Gallia. Keep it down. But keep sending in the money. We like it. Lucas says, if y'all want great Jenna Ortega content, watch The Fallout. It was before Scream, X, and Wednesday, and is so underrated. I don't know The Fallout. Do you guys know The Fallout?
I am unaware.
I do. Yeah, I do remember that. That was I think it was on HBO Max. Oh. I didn't watch it. I do remember like when it was a big little thing for a moment. But I'm blanking. Oh wait, no. It was a movie. It was a movie. It wasn't a show. Okay. Yeah.
Was it the one with the two heads like facing you or whatever, lying down? I can't remember what the thought.
I think that was right. Yeah. I think that was right. Yeah.
Good suggestion, Lucas. Thank you.
Yeah.
We also got a stream live from my 2 Fly Cam. Says, hello, people. I don't want to distract from the topics, but what would you three do if you were the new heads of Lucasfilm? Bring back Rey, dive into the future or past, a Chewbacca family movie? Where would you take the future of theatrical Star Wars? Well, it's funny you asked that question. I'm 2 Fly Cam. And look, I'm sorry to everybody about my voice. I had a rough night of sleep, so my voice is a little shaky. So I apologize to anybody if it irritates anybody. I apologize. But yeah, Jeff Snyder also yesterday kind of revealing that according to his sources, the Damon Lindelof film is going to be the next theatrical Star Wars film announced. He's saying that 3 weeks before we get Star Wars, or 4 weeks before we get Star Wars Celebration. So, and they just put out the badges that they're going to be issuing out for Star Wars Celebration. And a lot of people pointing out that you have a Rey badge and you have a Finn badge. There's no Poe Dameron badge. It's 10 years since The Force Awakens. There have been a lot of rumors that they might be bringing back both of them. Would they make an announcement at this Star Wars Celebration? So, gentlemen, what would you all do if you were the head of Lucasfilm right now? What would be the things you would try to head towards theatrically?
I would try to do something different than what we have currently seen on the big screen. I would try to get away from that Skywalker trilogy, and the way that the Star Wars fans, as far as I can tell, have reacted to the book set during the High Republic. Oh yeah, that seems like the way for me to go. Like, let's go far into the past. Let's see some stuff that we haven't seen yet. And granted, you know, I know we're going to get the Acolyte that is set during that time period, but I would try to get as far away from what we have seen from this current incarnation as we can. And judging from the very enthusiastic reception that we regularly get from Laura Kelly and Mike Vogel about the High Republic books, I think that would probably be a smart place to dive into.
Okay. What about you, Griffin? What would you do?
Oh man, I honestly I do agree. I agree with Shannon. Anything that isn't along the lines of what we just saw with the Skywalker saga, I think is the right move. Just more like independent films, like, let Rian Johnson do his trilogy. Like, for the love of God, please let that man make his own Star Wars thing. It's just, please. But I mean, with the Lindelof stuff, I'm incredibly excited about that, just because I know the kind of creative he is and the kind of stories that he brings, and like the talent that he surrounds himself by. Like, it's just, that seems like they're, if they're going to focus on one project to maybe further develop, that seems like the winner here, because even, for as much as we like Taika Waititi, like his Star Wars film, I don't know what the hell that's going to be. Like, it doesn't really interest me, to be honest with you. And like, after Thor, Love and Thunder, I'm just sort of like, maybe he just needs to go back to indie films for a little while, because I think he's kind of lost it a little bit in there, or with blockbusters, especially because I didn't really care for Ragnarok either. So that's like another thing. So it's been a long series of movies where I'm like, Taika, baby, go back to the indies. But yeah, I don't know, man. If I was Lucasfilm, I think I would just stop announcing projects until I knew they were happening. They're not Marvel. They don't need to be Marvel. That, like, they're their own thing. They don't need to follow the MCU template. They don't need to come out with slates and phases. I mean, I'm sure we'll get announcements at Star Wars Celebration, but I honestly think, like, the reason that Kathleen Kennedy, pulling these projects or whatever is such a big deal is because they were announced. It's just like, if this had just been kept, under wraps and they were sorting studio stuff out, then, we wouldn't really care. So I guess that's just my thing, is just like, just stop making announcements until you have a script in place and you're just going to go forward with it, Yeah.
I think I like the High Republic idea as well, but I'll be honest with you. I would absolutely bring back Rey and Finn and start a whole new trilogy with those two. I know people might go crazy about that situation, and it would still work within Griffin wanting Rian Johnson to come back. I mean, that's a possibility as well. And I agree with you. I don't know what I don't know what Taika Waititi is going to, maybe an IG-11 prequel series or prequel movie, or depending on how IG-11 survives this season of Mandalorian, will we get an IG-11 exploring the universe like Kung Fu or something, like old school Kung Fu? I don't know. A lot of questions to be had, but yeah, I mean, I think I would focus on that and then start to look at other stories that we can tell and other filmmakers to bring in. Because I mean, Rachel Morrison, who had never done any Star Wars, directed one hell of an episode of The Mandalorian this past week. And so, clearly there are damn good directors who are out there who are not getting the opportunity to tell Star Wars in large amounts. So I would hunt out really good young directors and start the process of having them. What appeals to you in the Star Wars universe? What story have you always wanted to tell? Let's open the doors to everything, and have some fun with it. No clones. No more fucking clones. All right. Anyway. All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump into some more news going on in the world of Marvel right after this.
Do 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 do.
What is that? I don't know. What is that?
That's Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was trying to put my finger on. I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into some Marvel news. Here, Shannon and Griffin, it was announced earlier this week. Jon Bernthal is coming back to play the Punisher in Daredevil Born Again, but Deborah Ann Woll is not going to come back as Karen Page. And I can't remember the actor who plays Foggy Nelson.
Elden Henson.
Elden Henson is not coming back to play Foggy Nelson. But we've also got from Jeff yesterday some interesting Marvel news dump where he, according to him and the sources that he's got going on here, Sam Raimi might be being eyed to come back to direct the next Doctor Strange film. God help us all. That's my personal opinion. And also, a Silver Surfer series looks like it might be in motion. And Marvel might have signed Matt Shakman to an overall deal to produce more than just the Fantastic Four there, or be involved with more than just the Fantastic Four there. So since we went to Griffin first on the previous topic, let's go to Shannon first on this. Shannon, your thoughts on Bernthal, your thoughts on all this Marvel news jumping yesterday. What are your opinions?
I mean, as far as the confirmation that Bernthal's coming back, I think that's a universally beloved decision.
Yeah,
just because he was so great as Frank Castle in Daredevil season 2. I mean, some of his, especially I forget the episode name, but when he had Daredevil kind of taken captive, the dialogue between those two, the interplay between those two actors was so good. And knowing that the extended order that this new series is going to have, the opportunity to get to revisit that in sort of a different way, I think that's really, really exciting. As to Foggy and Karen, I am not a big fan of Elden Henson. I don't think he is the strongest actor. So I remember when he got cast, I remember thinking that this is the first kind of like strike against the series, because I don't think he's the strongest actor. Deborah Ann Woll, on the other hand, it's like, I did like her Karen Page. So it's one of those interesting things that everything that, took place in the Netflix series, that Marvel has sort of adopted the strategy of like, let's take what we want and leave what we don't. I don't think we're going to get an announcement any day that Finn Jones is coming back as Danny Rand. I think that's
no
probably
that's
safely over in the Netflix universe.
Yeah.
So mixed feelings, just because I think Bernthal will be so great in the MCU. And I think they've been clamoring to kind of get him in, because he'll just be looking at the universe as a whole. Like, Bernthal is just he's such a good actor, and he's so good in that role that having him on the table to use for future projects, I think is awesome. Yeah. Now, in terms of what was the second one, John? Not the Matt Shakman
coming back. Matt Shakman, who is doing Fantastic Four overall deal. And a Silver Surfer series for Disney Plus, possibly.
Like Silver Surfer series. I mean, as an idea, that sounds super cool. I mean, we'll see what it possibly looks like. I mean, as much as I did enjoy parts of She-Hulk, the effects were inconsistent. So knowing that the Silver Surfer may not be a 100% CGI creation, they might try to kind of marry a little bit of practical, a little bit of CGI enhancement. I just want it to look good. But as a concept, if money's no object, like, great, that's a great introduction to the world of Norrin Rad. Now, the Matt Shakman deal, I mean, whether or not, like, if they are signing him to some sort of elongated production deal, my guess is they are happy with the work that he has put forward on Fantastic Four thus far. Now, granted, have they shot a frame of film? Not that we know of. They haven't announced it. They haven't announced the cast. But I mean, I think part of going forward of like knowing, can we work with this person, is how they are in development. Yeah. And if Feige and company are enjoying revisiting everything with Matt Shakman, it's just like, hey, let's see. This is a hot young filmmaker. He was already in demand before, like with Star Trek. So maybe let's try to lock him down for a little bit. And what was the third thing you said, John? I'm so sorry. I keep
the Sam Raimi thing. You keep forgetting about
the Sam Raimi thing. Yeah. Okay. So,
come on, guys. Come on.
The grace that I want to provide here with
this
news is Sam Raimi came into a situation where the train had already left the station.
Yeah.
So he probably was not as involved in the development of the movie prior, the movie was going. Yeah. And he kind of hopped on board and did the best he could with what he was given. Right. Does that mean Doctor Strange 3, if he's sort of involved from the inception, does that mean it will turn out different? Like, I was not a big fan of that movie. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's fine. That was fun. Upon subsequent viewings, my opinion changed.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is a little messy. But that being said, Raimi has his very devoted fan base. It sounds like Griffin might be in that camp.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely.
I mean, when we left Multiverse of Madness, I remember thinking, especially reading the interview that Kevin Feige had given, that saying going forward, he wants filmmakers like Sam Raimi, who he doesn't have to kind of oversee everything. He trusts their vision. He trusts what they're doing. Yeah. I'm like, he's coming back for the third one. What we saw, that's Kevin Feige approved right there. Yeah. But maybe if he is involved with the movie from the beginning, maybe we get a stronger film. I mean, and again, a lot of people are pointing out Waldron's writing, that was the bigger issue. And again, we chatted about this a couple of weeks ago, that the writer, it's very easy to point the finger at the writer, but nothing goes into production without the creative think tank of Feige and Victoria Alonso and all those folks. Nothing goes forward without them saying okay. So to throw Waldron under the bus just for that, I'm like, that's not exactly fair. Like, this was a company made movie. Like, these movies are kind of made by committee. Like, you might have a filmmaker come in with a very specific vision, the way that Ryan Coogler did, the way that James Gunn did. But at the end of the day, they're not making any decisions that Marvel doesn't agree with. Yeah. So that would be my thought.
And as we saw in Wakanda Forever, sometimes they'll shove stuff in to make sure that they can, kind of keep the overall narratives going in multiple areas. For sure, much to sometimes the film's detriment. All right, Griffin, your thoughts here on all this stuff with the Punisher coming back, but no Karen Page, no Foggy, and all the other Marvel stuff with Silver Surfer, Shakman, and Sam Raimi. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, let me start with Sam Raimi, because we were just on that topic. I'm a big fan of that, not only because I love his Spider-Man movies, and I when you could tell Sam Raimi was doing his thing and was allowed to do his thing in Multiverse of Madness, big fan. I think that's what works. Actually, it's so funny this news dropped, because I literally watched the movie just on a whim last night, because I was like, it's been a while. I need to give this film more of a chance. And I really came around on it. And a lot of the things that I struggled with, I felt like Raimi and Waldron managed to make it work for the story they were trying to tell. Because you have to think about it. Like, they probably had so many mandates of stuff they had to put in this movie to set up other things. And that was the biggest issue. And that on top of just like the egregious, god-awful Illuminati sequence. But even something like that, like, you can see the narrative intent behind it, right? Like Strange is so he won't let anyone hold the knife, and so he creates an institution that then backfires on him, and then they fail, and it shows like his problems as a leader, or someone who isn't able to trust other people. And then they're just like unceremoniously, or not even unceremoniously, they are just like mean-spiritedly massacred and like
murdered.
Murdered. Yeah, like that's where you see the Raimi kind of pop in there, and you're just like, he took what he had to put in there. It's in there and it's not great, but then he kind of just like spun it around and was all like, yeah, I think this sucks too, and so I'm gonna kill him off in the worst way possible. And it's just like that little edge where it's like you can see the battle within the film of Raimi and Waldron and like the larger MCU, higher ups in the creative team. It's like, that's what's interesting to me. On top of the fact that I think in that movie, it's all about Doctor Strange, struggling, like he's the hero, but he doesn't really win at the end of the day. And like and we've seen that clip of like the third eye in the mid-credit scene circling around Twitter a lot lately. And I think that was one of the worst things that they did. And so I think if they go into a third Doctor Strange movie, they have to let him do his thing from the get-go. He has to be involved from the start. I mean, he can write it himself. He can pick his screenwriter, whatever. It seems like he kind of got along well with Michael Waldron, who, I was pretty harsh on him too when I first saw that movie. And I think I see where they like him and Raimi kind of meet together pretty well. So whether it's him, whether it's another writer or whoever, I just want to see a Doctor Strange movie orchestrated by Sam Raimi that doesn't have to tie into another MCU whatever. If that needs to happen, let it happen in the post credits or the mid credit scene, because Doctor Strange is Sam Raimi's favorite comic book character. This is a guy who's wanted to make a Doctor Strange movie his whole life, and he finally got to. And the fact that they want him to come back, I mean, you give that guy as much creative freedom as you can and just let him, make magic, because the flourishes in that movie, the style, the character stuff, where you could tell that Raimi was going in on it. I was just like, dude, I'd pay to see like a 2-hour Sam Raimi uncut version of this, because it just feels like he gets the character. So, yeah, big fan of that. I really hope it happens. Jon Bernthal coming back, huge fan of that, because I think that he has just defined the Punisher for this generation.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I really liked season 2 of The Punisher. Wow. I thought that I really did, man.
Wow.
Like it was.
I love and respect this guy, but I couldn't disagree with him more on so many big things. It's fascinating. Go ahead.
Yeah. The stuff with Shea Wiggum's daughter, I really don't know. Like it was kind of cool to see him have this person he had to protect, and seeing what they did with Ben Barnes's character. I'm blanking on their names, but and that, and then the
Jigsaw,
yeah. I don't know, man. Like I it felt like they were getting into their stride in that second season, and then obviously it was cut short. But I think the thing with Punisher coming to Disney Plus and all of that stuff is that, like, that's the big concern, right? Are they going to water him down?
Shave it down.
Yeah. Are you going to get rid of those harsh edges for the sake of him playing in the Daredevil sandbox? And I don't know, because I guess it really depends on what they're doing with Born Again. The only thing that does concern me is the fact that so this was announced as a Daredevil show, and now we're getting all of these characters just like jam-packed in there. It's like, well, no, this sounds like the Defenders Universe show, not the Daredevil show. And that's not to say that Daredevil and Punisher don't interact like regularly. I mean, they do, but like for your first Daredevil thing, like the She-Hulk bit notwithstanding, like your first Daredevil thing, let Daredevil be Daredevil. That, like, people love this character. And yeah, I mean, you could throw Fisk in there. That's fine. Have him be in there because that's obviously his big villain. But like, make it as focused on Matt Murdock and his grapple with like religion and all, like his Catholicism and all that stuff, because that's the interesting stuff. Not is the Punisher going to pop in? Is Elektra going to pop in and all this stuff? Like that's cool if you can work it in narratively. But like for your first outing, nah, dude, I want to see like a straightforward, honestly, a pretty faithful adaptation of Born Again, even though they've kind of taken some of those elements. But so it's a bit of a mixed bag. Like, I'm excited that Jon Bernthal is back, and then we'll see what they do from there. As for Foggy and Karen not being in it, or I guess the actors who played them not being in it.
Right, the actors who played them.
Yeah. I don't like why. I guess I think the frustrating thing is that they were so undervalued, like when the show was on. I mean, everyone got behind Deborah Ann Woll, I think, as the show was wrapping up, rightfully so, because she was remarkable in that series. But I just think like Charlie Cox, he does not work by, I mean, he's good by himself, but part of the charm of that was the three of them, was their dynamic, how they would kind of play off of one another, how they would help one another. Karen Page is as important a part of Daredevil as Matt and Foggy, especially in that original run. So to see the title guy coming back, but not the people that helped make the title guy as great as he is. It's just, I don't know what they're thinking there. I mean, there is something to be said about recasting, like that's fine. And I get it, right? Like Charlie Cox is playing Matt Murdock. He's playing Daredevil. Like obviously they're going to bring him back if they can. Same with Bernthal and Fisk. But when you start selecting stuff like this and you miss out on the people that made those characters special and those shows special, I think it's a bit of oversight on the part of the producers or whoever, the studio, whoever's making these decisions. So that bums me out, but if they can get another quality actress or actor in there to play the parts, then that's fine. But it does kind of put a bad taste in my mouth a little bit. So as for the Matt Shakman stuff, big fan of his. Did not like what he did with the finale of WandaVision. Kind of
certainly
ruined the whole
finally
show
we agree on something.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm like him doing Fantastic Four, like I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm also a bit worried just because of that finale. Him doing a Silver Surfer series, right? Like you say he was the one that was attached to that.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Makes sense, right? He's doing Fantastic Four. They're going to want the guy who's doing Fantastic Four to do Silver Surfer. So I think they can greenlight a Silver Surfer series, but they would be smart to see how his Fantastic Four project is received before they fully commit to that take on Silver Surfer. I just, I mean, like, I can kind of get behind the Silver Surfer series, but I just do like a solo film and then that's it. Like you don't need to, like, not every character needs to have like a mini series or whatever. I think someone like Norrin Rad, who's just like the very nature of him lends itself to just big screen entertainment. I would want to see a blockbuster, like, big Marvel movie centered around Silver Surfer. Could tie in Galactus, maybe the Fantastic Four make a little appearance in there, but and then it's just a one and done. You don't need to do anything else with it. So excited about Silver Surfer. Matt Shakman, it's a bit up in the air for me. It kind of just depends on Fantastic Four.
Fair enough. Well, I'll get my thoughts out quick. Raimi, oh god, I don't want him to come back. And everyone can say anything they want about the script or whatever. I don't care. He's the director, just like that dude's the quarterback. He runs the offense. He runs the film, and so he's the person that gets all the. No one's gonna go if the film was great. No one was gonna be. That writer was amazing. No bullshit. They would have been. Raimi did it again. And so if you're gonna take the credit, you got to take the hit. And to me, I don't care where it came along in the process. It was a Sam Raimi film. And for me, I've been kind of slow. It's people don't want to admit that Raimi does not 100% make great films. I mean, Quick and the Dead is a fun film. It's not a great film. Spider-Man 2, that's a whole nother ballgame. But even that has elements that are a little dated. And of course, the less said about Spider-Man 3, the better. And don't forget, he produced 65, which is out now and getting eviscerated by critics. So I have mad concerns of him coming back. Robert Cargill was on. Robert Cargill, who's a writer on the first Doctor Strange, was on Double Toasted. Great show those guys do. And he said him and Derrickson had a completely different idea for Doctor Strange. I like Scott Derrickson's Doctor Strange. Give me more of that. But I guess Foggy's the man, and if he likes Raimi, he's going to bring Raimi back. And the film made almost $1 billion when we were still dealing with a little bit of the after effects of COVID. So you can't argue the fact that they made money with that movie. So there it is. Shakman, I love WandaVision, but yes, that finale let me down. So we'll see what he does with this overall deal and what that means. Where's Peyton Reed's overall deal? I know people didn't like Ant-Man 3, but I like Peyton Reed, and I liked all the Ant-Man movies. So I would like to see him get an overall deal. But yeah, Shakman's great. Silver Surfer makes sense because if you're going to look at Galactus, which is where I think they're going eventually, you've got to lay a little bit of the seeds of Galactus. So in a series on Silver Surfer, you lay the seeds of Galactus, right? Who's going to come after Kang, I'm sure. What else were we talking about? Oh, yeah, the Bernthal. I tweeted this. The first season of The Punisher is the best season of any Marvel Netflix show, bar none. There are no filler episodes like there are every season on Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. They all have filler episodes. There are none of those in season one. And I know Mike Kalinowski disagrees with me and did so on Twitter. But for me, season 1 of Punisher was beautiful. The way they dealt with PTSD, the way they dealt with the army stuff, the way they dealt with the changing allegiances there of the FBI agent, and then also the stuff with Jigsaw Benjamin, who was fantastic. I don't know, people love him in Shadow and Bone, but he was great in the Punisher series. So have him come back, and you're right, Griffin and Shannon, the chemistry with Charlie Cox and Bernthal is so great. Yeah. Those guys have two different approaches to manhood, and the way they play off each other is so much fun. So I think it was so smart to bring him back. Echo is supposedly going to be in Born Again as well. So that's going to be
the thing.
Yeah, what you were saying here, Griffin. Yeah, a lot of people are going to show up in Born Again. To be fair, it's an 18-episode series, so you're gonna you got to fill the real estate with people. So we'll see what happens with that. What was the one I forgot? What's the other one that we talked
Silver
about?
Surfer?
I already talked about that. Shakman, the Raimi and Bernthal. Okay, I guess that's all the Marvel stuff.
Let me ask you guys this real quick, because I'm actually curious. If all these characters, all these New York street level characters are going to appear in Daredevil, do you think we get Spider-Man? That's the big question, right?
Ooh.
I think in a perfect world you would.
Yeah.
But because of the complexity of that deal, I would think that probably throws up some creative roadblocks. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are speculating that we'll get Luke Cage and Jessica Jones back.
Yeah.
And so, like you were saying, it might be a bit of a Defenders soft reboot. So we would see, but I can't imagine we would get Spider-Man back because Tom is exclusively features. Yeah. And there's already rumors that he might make an appearance in Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse. So I think it would be stretching it even more to put him in something like Born Again, but it all depends on if they can get him and work out something with the deal,
I guess
every appearance has to be part of the contract.
Right. Yeah, I guess it depends on, because I don't know the minutia of the contract or anything like that, but I would assume if it's strictly just like appearances, maybe they did work out something where it's like he can appear in like a couple of episodes of a TV show or something like that. I mean, I just want to see, like, I know we got the little bit in No Way Home, but I just want to see like Spider-Man and Daredevil, have some sort of interaction. Maybe not in Born Again, because again, I want that to be very Daredevil focused, but like in a feature like Avengers movie or something like that. Yeah, got to see that.
By the way, shout out to Chris Corcoran delivering the best line from Punisher season 1. No. Wait. That's such great stuff there. In season 1. He's visualizing that stuff. Let's hit some of these super chats before we go to another break here. Galliet saying, "Bro, it's me, non-Kino." I don't know if that's a thing for you there, Griffin. So
he's a guy I've interacted with on Twitter before. I didn't. Yeah. Anyways,
fair enough. There you go, Galliet. Julian Ramos says, "Have you guys watched History of the World 2?" I have not watched any of the episodes this week. Have you guys?
I started it last night. We got through the first 2.
Wow.
And they're only half an hour. Like it's a 4-night event where it will ultimately kind of be a 2-hour movie. Like
what?
Some of them are very funny.
Okay.
Some of them way off the mark. But it's worth it. Like if you like the original movie, it's worth taking a look at. There's enough funny stuff that you're not going to feel cheated by the end.
Fair enough. Amrex says, "FilmSpeak on Geek Buddies. You guys are doing the Lord's work. Moving forward, do you think Marvel should have the single character storyline on Disney Plus and do more team up films on the big screen? Love the Geek Buddies." Gentlemen, we were talking about that with the Silver Surfer situation. Do you guys think that's what they should do, and then just only do team up movies?
No.
No, and I think just the nature of what they are trying to do. I don't think it'll ever be this goes here, this goes here. And going forward, like who knows if they're going to keep the format that they've kept, that the half-hour shows are 9 or 10 episodes. The hour shows are 6 episodes. I think that format is. I mean, Daredevil has already proven that that's not something that they have to do. And I think a lot of the shows in Phase 4 have been like if you just had one more episode, maybe you could have done this. So no, I don't think it'll ever be that exclusive.
Okay. Yeah. I would hope not either. I mean, look, like I understand that they kind of brought a TV model to the theatrical marketplace, and like it served them well so far, but like that doesn't mean that they need to like, okay, now that we've done that, we're going to go strictly do TV and we're going to use, that like, no, I think actually their biggest problem is that they aren't treating their theatrical releases like movies. They feel like parts of a television show, which I get is like part of the appeal to this, but it's like, I want to go back to when these things felt like films, when you could feel like the vision of a single voice behind it telling a story about a character that they were really passionate about. You get that with Ryan Coogler, you get that with James Gunn, you get that with Shane Black and Sam Raimi to an extent. And you want to know the thing that they all have in common? They're all directors. They work in film. The rest of the filmmakers, while I still do like some of the movies, like, the Russo's work and everything else, it's like a lot of them came from TV. And you can tell when you're watching the movies that they work like a television director. And so I think we need to, television has its merits as well, right? But like television is television and film is film. And we need to treat the two mediums appropriately. So that's like, I know it's not entirely what they were asking, but like, I just want Marvel to make like good movies again, just like movies again.
I mean, but also to be fair, dude, the Russo brothers came out of TV and created two epic Infinity War and Endgame films, but but I hear you. Like it's not like always the TV directors come up and make great films. So that's a fair point. All right, well let's see. We don't have any more Streamlabs super chats. All right, well right now we got 180 of you all watching us right now live. Thank you so much for joining us live here tonight. Please make sure you hit a like on this video, subscribe to the channel down below, hit that bell button, and send in your Streamlabs super chats. It's pinned in the chat as we go along here. We're going to take a quick break, and afterwards, we're going to jump into some trailers. And remember, later on, we're going to get into our Oscars predictions for this weekend's show. We'll be right back right after this. Okay.
That was poorly done, but that was the score to the original Ninja Turtle movie, not from the animated series.
All right, Shannon McClung, take it away. We got some trailers.
We're going to start off with something that was released earlier this week. We get our first look at the Seth Rogen produced CGI Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. So this is coming from the directors of The Mitchells versus the Machines. This is a Sony Animation Pictures release. And I got to tell you, the aesthetic behind this movie, it's like, They looked at Spider-Verse, they looked at Mitchell's versus the Machines, and they're like, you know what, let's go one level higher. I love the look of this movie. I got more to say, but I'll throw it over to you all first. What did you all think of our first look at emphasis on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem?
I mean, if you're going to do something different, this works. I like the animation, which is, of course, computer animated, but made to feel like it's hand drawn, which I like. Had a little bit of the Spider-Verse vibe to it as well. Like the voices, the young voices. I like the new approach to April. I dig that. I think she's more reflective of the geek culture that we see now than the Aprils that have been before. And there have been many different versions of April. So I'm a fan of it. I like the vibe. It's young. It's interesting. It's fun. It makes me want to watch this. If you're going to bring it back, I don't want to see the same shit over and over again. And I sure as fuck don't want the Michael Bay movies. So this is a nice way. As much as I love Michael Bay, those ones are horrible. I'm a fan of this. I enjoyed it, and I like the vibe and the feeling and the jokes throughout. And it seems like they're becoming the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not necessarily an origin story, but maybe like TMT year one type thing, which I kind of liked. What'd you think, Griffin?
Yeah, I really liked this trailer, surprisingly, because I don't really care about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all that much. I didn't really like grow up with it or was like super passionate about it, but like watching this trailer, I was like, this is a version of these characters that I can get behind. It's it looks fun, and I believe it is like the same director from Mitchell's versus the Machines. No,
oh yeah. Okay.
So like that, I mean, I adore that movie. So like, if he's the creative voice behind it, then I'm like, I'm all in. And yeah, I mean, I just think as a trailer, the animation style, I love how Spider-Verse has just completely changed the game here, and just it's great because it's like people are finally realizing, at least in this little era, just like all the possibilities that animation can afford you and all that stuff. And I just like, this is a movie that like they could do cool, crazy things, and it looks like they're gonna do that. But also, I really like that the turtles feel like teens. They feel like high schoolers, which is something that's been lost for a while, whether or not it's just because of the way that they're designed or the people voicing them. But this, it's just like, no, these are just kids who happen to grow up and be Ninja Turtles, and they're trying to navigate, life or this time in their lives. And I think that's going to be fun. And yeah, I loved seeing, just all of them interact in the April stuff, and like, yeah, I'm all in, which is something I didn't think I was going to say before I watched the trailer. And then I watched it, and I'm like, cool, I dig it.
Well, I mean, and this has a really, really stacked comedic cast. I mean, we have Io Edeberry from The Bear, who is just a phenomenal performer. We've got Seth Rogen and John Cena as Rocksteady and Bebop, Jackie Chan as Master Splinter, Giancarlo Esposito as Baxter Stockman. I mean, this is just a huge cast. And a lot of times, I mean, I think you're right, Griffin. When we hear teenage, 13 years old is a teenager. And it sure sounds like Donatello is, in this version, it sounds like Donatello is probably the youngest. Yeah. And I think it works really, really well that they're going with this cast of youngsters, this cast who are learning how to be heroes. And just because they've taken, I just love the production design behind this movie thus far. And, Seth Rogen, that as they said in the trailer, from the eternal teenager, Seth Rogen. I mean, he seems like a perfect fit for this, and because it is a property that is aimed slightly younger than his normal audience, he's going to have to clean it up for this. So we're going to find out how it turns out when it comes out. Next or this August? So in just a few months.
Yeah. So for all you critics watching it, make sure you're kind to Seth Rogen, because he doesn't like negative criticism. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, sorry. What's our next trailer?
Our next trailer is coming to Apple Plus TV, and it is Ghosted. So this is from director Dexter Fletcher, who is slowly becoming one of my favorite directors working. I mean, he was one of the creative forces behind The Offer on Paramount Plus, which I was just such a huge fan of. He did Rocket Man. I mean, but the show, or the film, just looks like a throwback to those kind of romantic adventure comedies from the 80s. This one is starring Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, who replaced Scarlett Johansson for due to scheduling conflicts. But this is just, a guy falls head over heels for an enigmatic girl. She disappears, and he assumes that he has been ghosted, like the title says. He decides to do the completely normal thing and fly internationally to go see her, and he ends up in the middle of a spy adventure. So, gentlemen, what did you think of our first look at Ghosted?
Griffin, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's a spy film, so that's like right up my alley, because I'm just a massive fan of that genre. I got to be honest, when I saw the poster, I was very nervous. I was like, oh my God, no, this looks terrible. But then I actually watched the trailer, and I was like, okay, this is a kind of movie we don't see anymore. This is charming. It's a mid-budget action movie with two very attractive leads. Like, yes, please give me more of this. Like, this is, and it's like fun, it's funny, it's got like a nice play on words with the ghosted theme. It's like, oh, you see, like, oh, did you just get ghosted? No, the girl that I'm interested in just is a international super assassin spy lady. It's a really, really fun premise. And I think the big thing for me is like, why give this a theatrical release, man. Like, I could see this doing actually like decently well at the box office, just given the nature of that trailer, given Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, like they both have big followings. People love them. I don't know. It was a lot more. I was charmed by the trailer, which is something that I didn't expect. So yeah, going back to the kind of movies that they just don't make anymore. Like, just love that. I love that.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know if I bought Ana de Armas, though. I got to be honest with you. I was just like, like seeing her run, and you're like, yeah, you wouldn't be able to run away from anything. Like you're not a runner. And there are certain moments where I'm like, okay, I guess we'll have to suspend our disbelief and accept the situation. But everything when they're interacting, they have really nice chemistry. So that may be the saving grace of the movie. Plus a nice twist that a good-looking dude like this could get ghosted, and he's almost like veering into the stalker territory, to be honest with you, showing up. But then the fact that it's turned around, it reminds me of that film with Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon, The Spy Who Dumped Me, and how it's like had no idea that Justin Theroux was a spy and all this kind of stuff. And even Spy, where I don't want to, I guess I shouldn't ruin it if people haven't seen it, but somebody you don't expect is actually a double agent. So there are certain elements to this. But yeah, you're right. It feels like Romancing the Stone from the 80s. It's got that vibe, and people have been complaining how we don't really have these romantic comedies anymore, mostly because people have seen through romantic comedies and don't want that stuff to come back. But this kind of stuff could be very interesting and a fun play on things as well. And Rhett Reese is one of the writers on this, and he worked on Deadpool 3, Zombieland Double Tap, the original Zombieland as well, Deadpool, and Monsters Inc. So some interesting, as well as Paul Wernick. So they all worked together. So it's gonna have hopefully jokes. So we'll see. But that shot of him scrolling through all the text messages that have been responded to, every guy knows that feeling, and it's not a cool feeling. And so the fact that you take that as an impetus to fly to another country, that's like, ooh. But I like that there's a twist there. So
yeah, I think they have great chemistry. I mean, the two of them reuniting after Knives Out, it's like, all right, this could be a fun time. Personally, whenever I see Captain America playing low status, it's like, come on, man.
Nobody messed up her face for Monster, for God's sake.
Nobody buys this.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, what were you gonna say, Griffin?
Oh no, I was just gonna say someone mentioned in the comments Romancing the Stone, which I was trying to think for the life of me. Yeah, I do get a little bit of Romancing the Stone vibes from this, which, like, again, love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was great in Bond, in No Time to Die.
Yeah.
So she can kick ass. I'm not saying she can't kick ass, but seeing her run, she was really slow. So I don't know. All right. Anyway, what's our next trailer here?
Ghosted comes out April 21st on Apple TV, not in theaters, to Griffin's chagrin. And our last trailer here is called No Hard Feelings. This is Jennifer Lawrence's dirty comedy, which they've released two versions of the trailer. There is a red band. That red band trailer is super funny, but this is coming from director Gene Stupnitsky, who is from The Office, where I thought he did some terrific work. He also directed, I believe it's called Good Boys, which for me, not so much. But I'll throw it over to you guys. What did you think of our first look at No Hard Feelings?
I loved it. This is I feel like this is happening in the same universe as Causeway, just in a different part of town. It's a different Jennifer Lawrence in a different part of town because it's low status, right? She loves. I mean, from Winter's Bone on, Jennifer Lawrence plays these low status characters in incredible ways. Even the woman in American Hustle, she's essentially a grifter. So like it's low status in terms of grifting her life, So she does excellent when she does these kinds of roles, and I loved her in Causeway. I thought she should have been nominated. Brian Tyree as well. Henry, he was great in that. So seeing something completely different like this, and don't forget, Jennifer was caught up in that scandal where her pictures of herself naked were put up on, and so like there's a lot of that. So coming back into a sexual comedy like this, she's taken on like some people might bring that stuff up or comment on it. So I appreciate the bravery of her, like kind of walking into it. And I thought this was funny as shit. I think it walked the right lines. I think it messed with people's ideas of what we can do and what comedy we're allowed to do anymore. Yeah. And this feels like Project X. It feels like Good Boys. Give me more of this that kind of comes close to crossing the lines or crossing the lines. But there is some funny. I mean, when she's crawling after she's been maced and she's like, "Why?" and all of this, and her yelling him to get in the fucking water already. And the kid is funny. So the kid doing the stuff that he's doing to kind of go back and forth. It has like that American Pie vibe to it as well. And so there's enough here for me that if this is, that I'm going to go see it, and I hope I laugh my ass off, because we don't get a lot of comedies in theaters anymore. So it would be fun to have this one kind of be a sleeper hit. What'd you think, Griffin?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I love this. Again, just another kind of movie that we don't see anymore. And it's just like, and especially like the nature of it, like a sex comedy. And it's like a rom-com sex comedy. So it's just like taking all the boxes of stuff that like I feel has been missing for so long. It just like cinema has been so sanitized, and it's just been like, come on, man. Like, let's be real. Let's like actually like, there's a reason those some comedies, or at least the good ones from, the aughts or the 90s or whatever, like still hold up. It's because they're speaking truths. And it's like, there might be a few things in there that are a bit dated, but you take the core ethos of those and you update it for a modern audience. And it's just like, like more of this stuff. Plus, I think it's like based on, like I can't remember if it was like an internet trend or whatever of like parents that were trying to do this with one of their
helicopter
kids.
Yes.
Helicopter. Yeah. So it's just like, that's a really funny thing to riff on. So it's not even like they're pulling this out of obscurity. Like, no. This was a thing that was happening that is weird. So it's just like, let's like, that's, prime real estate to just like riff on and have like this great comedy. And it looks like they're both characters, both Jennifer Lawrence and the other guy, they're both going to have a little bit of a coming of age thing going on there. So just like, I'm all for it. I think it looks endearing. It looks hilarious. It looks like it's going to have like no filter. It's going to be unabashed. And it just, yes, all about this. Plus, the Matthew Broderick casting.
I didn't recognize him until the third scene. And what?
Yeah, so good, so good. I ate this trailer up. It was great.
I mean, like Rocha said, it seems like there's probably an American Pie sort of goofy sweetness, despite the fact that this is a dirty comedy. And Jennifer Lawrence, she took some time away. She came back for Don't Look Up, but she took some time away after she had maybe been a little overexposed in terms of the output of her films, and coming back with something like this, with something funny, with something light, seems like a really, really good decision. Now, again, I was not a big fan of Good Boys. Like I actually couldn't get through the movie. Wow. But and it's not normal that I'm kind of like, I got to turn it off. I mean, again,
or was it the comedy?
I think it was the performances. I just couldn't get behind those kids.
Wow.
Like, I think directing kids is tough, and I just don't think that he just didn't knock it out of the park for me. Okay. But this, I mean, you could tell this kid is a little older. I mean, he's playing under 18. That he is. My guess is he is not that. Right. But the moment that he accidentally throat punches her in that take
oh my God.
That cracked me up so much. I am actually really, really looking forward to this. And the fact that they are releasing it June 23rd, in the heat of summer, says that, they think they've got something special in their hands too.
Yeah. In theaters too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's confidence.
I like it. Let's see if we got any more Streamlabs or Super Chats. No, nothing's come through. Come on, gang. We got almost 200 of y'all watching us right now. Send in your love. Send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats. We're about to take a break here and then jump into our main topic, get into our final Oscars predictions. There will be bloodshed, bruises, ripped clothes by the time it's over. So send in some love so we can replace our shirts and get ourselves healed and carbon health. So we're going to take a quick, I think that's it, right, Shannon? Any more to add, or are we good?
Yeah, that's okay. It.
We'll take a quick break and we'll jump into our Oscar predictions right after this.
Do 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 do.
Like all right, let's talk about this. The Oscars are happening on Sunday night. I will be doing a live watch long, God help me, of the ceremony so that we can all commiserate, cry, rage at the moon, or howl at the moon rather, and rage at the sky about the results. But mostly I just want to experience it in real time with other people. I think I'm going to do it on my channel. If not, I'll do it on Twitch, but I'll make an announcement on Sunday about it. But we got a lot to break. We're going to break down just the main categories, really, just here as we go into the last segment of the show. If you want to send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats, let us know who you think is going to win the bigger categories so we can read it on the air. We will do so here over the next few minutes. So I think we should just start with Best Picture. Let's start with the big old granddaddy here of the Oscar nominations. A lot of controversy, of course, has been around the Oscars here this year with Michelle Yeoh and Cate Blanchett, the Viola Davis, Andrea Riseborough, Daniel Deadwyler stuff. Now a lot of people are questioning whether Jamie Lee Curtis could put an upset in Best Supporting Actress, and even Best Actor now has become a bit of a toss-up when it seemed like Brendan Fraser was on his way to grab this thing. Now there's talk about Austin Butler sliding in and stealing it for both him and Colin Farrell. So some interesting stuff is there as well. And what are we going to get overall about the Fabelmans? Is Steven Spielberg going to shock the world and take that Best Director thing? Will Fabelmans default to being Best Picture? There's all kinds of madness.
Oh no,
that's not happening. It's just not.
Before we jump into though, I want to get you guys quick thoughts, and I mean quick thoughts. What are your feelings overall about the Oscars here this year? And do you think we're going to have a big turnout? I mean, SAG Awards had some really good numbers online. The HGA Awards, we broke a bunch of records for our presentation. So are people more interested because do you think we'll have high number because we've got more films that are more mainstream that are nominated for these big categories? What do you guys think? What do you think about the Oscars overall as we're about to see them with this Sunday?
To answer your question, no, because it is airing the same time as the Last of Us season finale.
It was just crazy.
So, yeah. So I think they shot themselves in the foot on that one. I get that they always do it on Sundays and everything like that, but I'm not even joking. I think that's really gonna hurt them.
Okay.
At the same time, how many people watching The Last of Us are gonna tune in for the Oscars?
Yeah.
I don't know how much crossover there is there. I mean, obviously with us hardcore, just like film, television, entertainment fans, but aside from that, I'm just ready for the award season to be over, as I usually am when I get to this point. I'm just like, we've talked about these movies ad nauseum. Whatever's going to win is going to win, and I'm just going to move on with my life.
Fair enough. Shannon, what are your thoughts overall before we jump into these predictions?
I mean, award shows in general, I can take or leave. Like, It's not the thing that I base my weekend around. I think sometimes when there's some really, really exciting nominees, they can be fun. But in general, like, as much as I did like a lot of the Best Picture nominees, it's none that I'm totally jazzed about.
Okay.
So, I mean, do I think more people are going to watch? I think in the wake of the slap, I think you might get a few more eyeballs who are like, hey, is something else crazy going to happen?
Right.
Which I highly doubt it will. I imagine this will be a very straight, right down the middle type of show. I do like Jimmy Kimmel. I think Jimmy Kimmel is funny, and I think there will be no shortage of Will Smith jokes.
See that right there. I don't even want to see that. Like, I get that, like, it's right material, and but like, even just like a fake staged slap, I'm just like, no, please just move on. Like, not.
Well, Matt Damon slapped Jimmy Kimmel. I mean,
I think
yes.
I think if it doesn't happen during the broadcast, it's going to happen on like his late night late night show. I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened yet. Now, bravo. Good call, Joseph Ashley.
Well, remember, Jimmy got in trouble at the Emmys with what happened with Quinta Brunson. Remember when he just kind of laid there on the stage and then he had to eat some crow on his own show later on. So the next night, I think, or 2 nights later. So, yeah, hopefully Jimmy doesn't do anything stupid like that during the ceremony, because that was
horrible decision. Horrible. Yeah. And good on Quinta Brunson for handling it with grace.
Yeah, well, seriously.
Sadly, unfortunately, black women have to always handle the stupid white guys doing dumb shit with grace. So, let's have men stop doing dumb shit, so women don't have to always handle it with grace. Let's have that as a novelty. All right. Anyway, let's jump into it. Let's go into Best Picture here right off. Actually, do we want to hold off on Best Picture? What do you guys think? Should we do that? Let's hold off on Best Picture.
Do you want to start with like the Best Supporting categories like they do in the broadcast?
Well, yeah. How do you feel about cinematography? Do you guys want to chime in on that one, or should we do screenplays? Cinematography
is interesting.
Okay. Well, here we go.
Because Yeah, I mean, if you want to start on that one?
Yeah, let's do it. Fuck it.
Okay.
Best cinematography here: All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, which I loved, Elvis, Empire of Light, Roger Deakins, and Tar. So, gentlemen, thoughts? You know what? We'll go Griffin, then Shannon, then reverse, and that's always so we make it quicker. Griffin, your thoughts? Who do you think is going to win Best Cinematography?
Yeah. Well, I think given all of the All Quiet on the Western Front love, that seemed like a front runner here. But then Elvis took home the Guild Award for that.
Yeah.
So I'm actually gonna lean more towards Elvis for cinematography for this film, which I love. Just because I think it was a beautiful looking movie, and then it was also I believe that was the first cinematography win for a woman. And I don't know if a woman cinematographer has won, or no, for Mudbound's, Rachel Morris, didn't she shoot that? Mudbound?
Yeah, I think she did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But outside of Rachel Morrison winning, I don't think another woman has won Best Cinematography. So that would be really cool to see on Oscar night, on top of just the fact that I think, given the fact it won the Guild Award, it has the most momentum right now. So I can see that taking it.
Okay. Shannon, what do you got? Who do you think?
Yeah, I think there has been sort of a late surge of interest in All Quiet on the Western Front. But I do think Elvis is the one that's going to walk away with it. And like, I was not necessarily a huge fan of that movie. But you know, you can't deny, you know, the visuals, that they put up. I mean, Baz Luhrmann, his movies always look really, really nice. And in this case, you know, his cinematographer really, really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. Mandy Walker, who is nominated for Elvis, is just the third woman to be nominated for Best Cinematography Oscar ever. But she did win, as you said here, Griffin, the prestigious feature prize at the 37th Annual American Society of Cinematographers Award. So that may be, I'm still going to side with All Quiet on the Western Front because I love that movie and the visuals in that movie. But I would not be surprised if Mandy slides in and takes it with Elvis, because certainly Elvis out of nowhere is starting to pick up steam in ways that I don't think a lot of people anticipated. So, all right, let's move on to our next nomination. Let's do original screenplay here. You're a writer there, Shannon, and you write a lot of your essays there, Griffin. So, best original screenplay: The Banshees of Inisherin here from Martin McDonagh, Everything Everywhere All at Once from the Daniels, The Fablemans by Spielberg and Tony Kushner, Tar by Todd Field, and Triangle of Sadness by Ruben Östlund, which I have to convince myself to watch this weekend. So, it's on, I think, Hulu or something, Peacock or Prime Video. But Shannon, your thoughts here. Who do you think is going to win this for Best Original Screenplay?
Well, I'll say who I think will win and who I think should win. I do think Martin McDonagh could take it with the Banshees of Inisherin, and I really, really like the Banshees of Inisherin. That is one of my favorite films of the year. But I would want it to go to the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, just because it is so off the wall, and the fact that it was able to sort of, you know, penetrate that cultural zeitgeist and get in front of so many eyeballs. It was just so unique, so original. I really wish the Daniels would win, but I do think Martin McDonagh has a more than decent shot.
Okay. What do you got there, Griffin?
It's tough. I really do think it's between Banshees and Everything Everywhere. I think I'm actually the reverse of you, Shannon. I think Everything Everywhere wins, but I think Banshees is the screenplay that should take it. That writing, man. I love Martin McDonagh, and I think his screenplays are they're so layered with a bunch of different stuff. And like Banshee specifically, it's just such a quintessentially like Irish story, but it's also universal at the same time. And like the way that it's able to be like funny and like morose and yet just like cynical, and like there's like all these different in a weird way, Banshees and Everything Everywhere like feel like they're kind of tapping into similar things at different angles. So I think that's really interesting that those are the two front runners here. But I think just given the Everything Everywhere love and the momentum at the moment, I think I have to go with that as the winner, and then Banshees as the one I'd like to see win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Banshees because Martin McDonagh is a favorite of the Academy. He's won a number of times and at least been nominated a number of times. So they clearly have a Martin McDonagh bent to them. So I could see him coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Banshees of Inisherin because I think some of these voters think they're going to give it to Everything Everywhere All at Once for other categories. So they want to honor Martin McDonagh and what he did with Banshees.
Yeah,
so I think that's where I think it could come in. So I take Banshees. Best adapted screenplay: All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, Living, which is a remake of Ikiru from Akira Kurosawa there, but this one written by Kazuo Ishiguro. Top Gun: Maverick, screenplay by Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren Singer, Christopher McQuarrie. Women Talking by Sarah Polley. And of course, Knives Out, Rian Johnson. All Quiet on the Western Front is Edward Berger, Leslie Patterson, and Ian Stokell. I'll go to you, Griffin, first on this one. Who do you think for adapted screenplay?
Well, God, I would love it if it was Rian Johnson, but that's not going to happen. I just that screenplay is so brilliant. It is just bursting with incredible writing, and you get why every actor wants to work with him. There's nothing like a script written by Rian Johnson. That being said, I think it's going to All Quiet on the Western Front because again, the momentum, the fact that it's just like it seems to be getting all of these accolades and it's pretty much at the forefront of a lot of these Oscar conversations. Yeah. I really do think that because I don't want to say because I don't want to give it away for later, but I do think that it's going to win this category because it's not going to win a few other ones.
Okay. All right. Shannon, your thoughts?
That would actually be my guess as well, is that this is the one that I don't think any of the other nominees have more heat right now for adapted screenplay than All Quiet on the Western Front. As you said, John, like the whole idea of Martin McDonagh winning original screenplay because the Academy loves him. I think they want to give All Quiet on the Western Front, give them some love because I don't think when it comes to Best Picture, I don't think it's going to walk away with it. I mean, I think it'll obviously win Best International Feature, and I do think it'll win Best Adapted Screenplay. Even though who could have thought that almost 30 years later, when we get a Top Gun sequel, that it would actually be nominated.
I'm still just
for Academy Awards.
Yeah, stunned by that. I just like what?
Yeah, somehow it snuck through.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Best Supporting Actress. One of the most contentious, competitive is what I'm trying to say. Competitive categories here with Angela Bassett, the first ever Marvel nominee for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Hong Chow for The Whale, which was a massive surprise that she got nominated. Carrie Condon, The Banshees of Inisherin. Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once as well. Shannon, your thoughts?
I mean, how Angela Bassett doesn't get this is beyond me. Even with the wave of love for Everything Everywhere All at Once, really enjoying Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Hsu's performances. This is Angela Bassett's moment. I mean, the depth that she brought to this, the depth of pain that she had every time. I mean, she was just wonderful. Yeah. And going forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think I don't know how Angela Bassett doesn't win for this.
Okay. Griffin, what do you got?
God, I would love if Carrie Condon won because she floored me in Banshees, but I gotta agree with Shannon. I think Angela Bassett has momentum, even though there's been the recent Everything Everywhere wave. Plus, it's just an Oscar that's like way overdue, and because of the fact that she gave a great performance in this movie, and I feel like everyone has sort of been like, we messed up a few other times in the past. This is going to be the one that we're going to, reward her for, which is, it's a great performance. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a deserving win. Mm-hmm. I just think there are stronger performances in that category, like Stephanie Hsu and Carrie Condon. Those are the two really where I'm like, man, especially Stephanie Hsu. And but anyways, but I I think Angela Bassett's winning.
Okay, so here's what I think is going to happen. I think Angela Bassett will win, but I will not be surprised if Carrie Condon comes in and takes it. I would not be surprised. There's been such an upswing. There have been articles about Carrie. She's been going on all these talk shows. So, and I think this whole blow up over the Andrea Riseborough, Viola Davis, Daniel Deadwyler thing, I think there are members of the Academy who might be like, fuck you, I'm not going to vote for a black person now because you guys made such a big stink and you tried to stain our organization. I'm going to vote for Carrie Condon, or I'm going to vote for someone, or Jamie Lee Curtis. Wow. So don't be surprised. As I say all the time, Hollywood ain't as liberal as you fucking think. It really isn't. So I'm going to be real interested to see what the end result will be. But I hope it's Angela Bassett because she delivers an incredible performance in that movie. But I would not be surprised to see Carrie Condon slide in, because Best Supporting Actress is always the category that's like, you have no idea who's going to win. And there are surprises throughout the history of the Academy in that category. All right, let's move on to the next one, and that is Best Supporting Actor. And this is going to be interesting as well. Brendan Gleeson for Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry, as you mentioned earlier, nominated for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fablemans, who was in it for 9 minutes, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ki-Hee Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Griffin, is there, does anyone win besides Ki-Hee Kwan?
Nope. This is the biggest lock of the night. I honestly, really? if anyone other than Key wins, that will be the talk of the entire show. And again, it is so deserving. He is the soul of that movie, which is saying something, because that's a movie with just like remarkably powerful and emotional performances. Yeah. So the fact that he's kind of the unanimous, like, yes, is awesome and good for him, man. I've loved watching him go on this whole like awards circuit this whole year. It's been I've had as much fun watching him as he's probably had doing the whole thing. So yeah, this is the biggest lock of the night. Yeah.
Okay. Shannon?
Fully agree with Griffin. It's Ki-Hee Kwan's. I mean, the joy having him on the big screen again. It's just, I mean, aside from his incredibly endearing speeches whenever he wins, his really heartfelt interviews that he's been giving on like the late night talk show circuit, just watching him on screen again, like you see sort of the travesty of like that he did go away for so long because it looked like there were just no roles for him. And the fact that he's getting to do this, again, so many years later, and he just delivered such a great performance. I mean, as Griffin said, he really is the soul of that movie, and he's playing different characters. I mean, there is that very definite delineation between when he's, Wayman Prime, or was it the Prime universe that the main universe is called, and Wayman that is, Michelle Yeoh's husband. It's just, I can't wait to see him deliver an acceptance speech.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone else winning. I think it's just such a lock for Ki-Hee Kwan. And to think you've been kind of out of it for so long because you weren't getting cast and stuff. You were auditioning, you were trying to get on, and then to come back and get an Oscar. Oh my God, what an incredible return that would be. All right, let's move on to Best Lead Actress here. Cate Blanchett for Tar. To talk about contentious, this applies here. A lot of drama around this category. Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Shannon?
I sure hope it's Michelle Yeoh. Like Tar was one of the only Oscar-nominated films that I had not watched, and I watched it right before we recorded today. And as much as I did think like Cate Blanchett delivers an incredible performance, I just don't think I don't think it was comparable to Michelle Yeoh's. Again, a performer who has been around for so long, and we're just now getting to see everything that she can do. I really hope I hope it's Michelle Yeoh's to win, but I do think Cate Blanchett. It's a two-person race right now.
Yeah. Does the Academy implode if Michelle Williams wins? I'm just asking a question.
Oh, come on.
No. The Academy implodes if Andrea Riseborough wins.
Oh,
that's what
I mean. What happens if she? Does she even go up there and accept it? Like, is there a mutiny? What happens?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Oh man.
Do people walk out? I would not be surprised if a lot of people walked out. If that happens. So, go ahead, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like it's gotta be Michelle Yeoh, but I mean, I really do like Kate Blanchett and Tar, and I love Tar too as just a film. I think it's interesting because it's like Michelle is giving a career defining performance in like a, you know, like look, she's been in incredible movies, but this really feels like like a moment for her, like that'll, you know, transcend just the award season. This is like this will be one of the big things she's remembered for, which is insane. So it feels like it should go to her for that reason alone, but also, I mean, just Kate Blanchett and Tar, it's one of her best performances, and she's like one of the greatest actors working. So it's like, you know, it's the same sort of thing, but I think that career defining element is what's going to push Michelle over the edge. And people like her, and it's just, you know, I don't know the next time where she'll have an opportunity like this. Whereas like Kate, I think, tends to select projects that do get her. I mean, this is like, you know, she already has like 2 Oscars and she's been nominated like countless times, you know, deservedly so. So I think, while it's a little bit up for debate right now, I gotta believe that they're gonna give it to Michelle.
Yeah, I feel like Michelle will win this thing, but
yeah,
if they were to ever release the numbers, I bet it'll be by 1 or 2%.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people do like Kate Blanchett's performance in Tar. Maybe not the film overall, but certainly her performance. So I'm very curious to see what happens. But then again, I would not be surprised if it ends up going to Kate Blanchett. Just like we got with Anthony Hopkins over Chadwick Boseman. Nobody saw that coming, and it happened. So it's very, very possible, but I hope Michelle Yeoh wins. All right, let's move on to our next one. That's Best Lead Actor here. Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, and Bill Nighy for Living. So, Griffin, I go to you first.
Man, really putting me on the spot.
I mean, it was your turn. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. This might be the toughest category of the night, even more so than Blanchett versus Yeoh. This is like, because, you know, it's like on one hand, it's like Fraser has the momentum. He's given remarkable speeches, which goes a long way, and they're emotional, and you know he would appreciate it just deep down to his core. And it feels like Austin's lost a little bit of momentum. Even though I thought he was a lock to win it like a couple of months back. But part of me is also like the Fraser Butler duel could make way for Colin Farrell to take it, which I also wouldn't be pissed about because that's arguably the best performance of his career too. So it's like, my gut says Fraser right now. It feels like it's his moment, similar to Michelle and like the promotion and everything. But I mean, if he wins, it's probably just by a hair, a very, very slim margin. I don't
know. Shannon, your thoughts on this?
Again, this is going to be one of those. This is what I think will win. This is what I would want to win.
Okay,
I do think Brendan Fraser wins it. Okay. Because I agree that Austin Butler was the front runner, then it was Brendan Fraser. Now it seems like recently Austin Butler's kind of coming back, but I think ultimately I think Brendan Fraser has won over the majority of voters at this point, and it's probably his. Who I would want to win is Colin Farrell. Colin, because again, I have such a soft spot for that movie, even though you know, I picked Everything Everywhere All at Once for screenplay over Banshees. I would really want to see Colin Farrell win it because it's just such a different performance for him. I've never seen him look that vulnerable on screen, and just the journey that his character goes on. I really wish Colin Farrell would win.
Arguably delivering 2 of the best performances of the year with Penguin and with what he did in Banshees. 2 completely different performances.
Oh, after Yang too. Did you guys see that?
Yang, right.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
He was really soulful in that one as well. So just incredible range that he has developed here as an actor. And I would argue he is like surpassed, because I think you could have considered him in the same category with Brad Pitt, like these young guys who came in who were pretty, and everybody wanted to put them as leads, but they had these more character actor type tendencies. And Brad has had his moments for sure, but Colin has really blossomed into an actor. And I think this is where and I agree with you guys. He delivered the greatest performance of his career in this film. And yeah, I would not be surprised if he wins it, but I'm hoping that it's Brendan Fraser. That film is taken for me way too much unnecessary slack for what it's not talking about all overweight people. It's talking about this person in this situation experiencing this journey. And I get real upset at people who try to extrapolate what is going on in that movie as some kind of commentary about people who are overweight. It's got nothing to do with your personal experiences or your family or friends' personal experiences. That's that specific character in that specific story. So for me, I think he's taken undue hits for that. But, he's a sweet guy and he's given great interviews. And I hope that he's the one standing. Wouldn't it be fascinating that if it's Michelle Yeoh, Ke Quan, Angela Bassett, and Brendan Fraser? It was so fantastic.
It's a lineup. Yeah.
It would be great to see. So,
I will say the Academy and the industry, I have felt so much love for Elvis, to the point where I'm actually shocked that Baz Luhrmann isn't nominated for Best Director. That's pretty wild to me. But I don't know how much Elvis is going to win. So part of me is like, I'm like, maybe if you look outside of the SAG branch, a lot of those people I think will be going Elvis just because of that movie and that performance.
Yeah.
So it's such a toss up. It's a tough category.
I think just about every category has the possibility for shocks.
Yeah,
which I think is a good thing. All right, let's move on to our Best Director category real quick, and then we'll get into Best Picture and wrap this up. Martin McDonagh for Banshees, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for Fableman, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. I think we go to you first here, Shannon. Your thoughts?
I mean, this is the Daniels all the way. I don't know. I don't know who else wins this, because as much as I love
I'll fucking
Banshees,
tell you who else could possibly win this. But yes, go ahead.
As much as I love Banshees, I don't think the direction is what got that movie there. To full disclosure, I have not watched Triangle of Sadness. Tar, that movie, that's a showcase for Cate Blanchett, and that is not a bad thing. And Spielberg, man, I'm a Spielberg lover, but in terms of the things he has been nominated for, in my opinion, The Fabelmans is rock bottom over with his other nominations.
Wow.
I mean, it's just for me. And again, I know that movie struck a chord with some folks. It just didn't for me. So the Daniels is who I really, really want to see win this.
Yeah. Griffin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because the Daniels were up against Spielberg for the DGAs, right?
Yes.
And they went with the Daniels, so that means that I feel like it's probably going to be the Daniels, and I'm not feeling any momentum for the Fabelmans.
Yeah.
I would have really liked if like in any other year, if the Fabelmans is up for this, Spielberg's up for this, I would love to just kind of like give it to him for that, for like what this movie means to him. I love the movie as well, and it meant a lot to me watching it. I got very emotional watching it, so I get it. It's not the flashiest movie he's ever made for certain, but it was one that did strike a chord with me, and it would have been just very like poetic and beautiful if he had won for this film. But just so happened to come out in a year where there's a lot of other great movies. So I do feel like the Daniels, they feel like a pretty strong lock on this one.
Yeah.
But if there's going to be someone that upsets them, it'll either be Spielberg or Martin McDonagh, just because the Academy loves McDonagh and Banshees. So
they do. Yeah, I'm going to go Daniels as well, but I mean, there is a universe where Spielberg wins. We may be living in it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see Sunday night. I can just see myself throwing the desk through the window. Anyway, all right, let's move on. Best Picture here. Let's wrap it up here. We'll hit your Streamlabs and Super Chats to wrap up the show as well. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, Women Talking. Griffin, as our guest, I'll go to you first.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's a pretty big lock. Okay. I think, in my opinion, that everything's led to this moment.
Is there a second choice that you think could steal this?
Probably Banshees. That would be the second choice. Although I think that's tough, right? Because of all the All Quiet on the Western Front love and that momentum. I mean, that would be nutty if that movie came in and upset everything. I mean, I could see it happening, but that's one of the other multiverses. I think in this in this universe, we're looking at Everything Everywhere win for certain.
Okay, Shannon.
Yep, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, the fact that a movie like this has made it into the Oscar conversation, 5 years ago, to me, this doesn't happen. Like, I think it would just be too out there for the voting body. But I do love the universe where Top Gun wins. I mean, in terms of pure rewatchability, I probably saw that movie 5 or 6 times in the theater. If I had a moment, I'm like, you know what, let's go see Top Gun again. But yeah, it's Everything Everywhere All at Once this year.
Okay. Snyder's been working on me in my brain and it's scaring me because last 2 weeks ago, he's like, there's no way they're giving it to a film with butt plugs in it. And I'm like, maybe you're right. But Deadline coming out saying All Quiet on the Western Front could win Best Picture really threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be Everything Everywhere All at Once because of the momentum, but I would not be surprised to see them say All Quiet on the Western Front. The Academy has occasionally had a tendency to reward films that are not American-made films. We saw that recently with Parasite.
Yeah.
We've seen that with Chariots of Fire. We saw that with Shakespeare in Love. So we've seen these films that have kind of taken people's attention and have kind of surprised people and won. So I would not be, because All Quiet on the is a phenomenal film. It is a magnificent film. It's better than 1917, and I thought 1917 was about the greatest film I would ever see about World War I, and it was incredible. So I wouldn't be surprised if it won, but I hope it's Everything Everywhere All at Once for all kinds of reasons. So that's what Everything All at Once.
Here's what I'll say about the All Quiet thing, because I think I don't know if it was the original version of that movie. I know it's based off of a book, but like the original version of that movie won Best Picture. So I have to imagine that it's also kind of like weighing on their minds as well as they're voting. They're like, okay, we awarded this same story Best Picture way back when. Do we want to? Is this movie as good as that, if not better? Is it worth that recognition? And I don't know. I mean, do you guys think it's better than the original version, or
better than the original for the 1930s? Is that
yeah that 19th. You did okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot say that I saw the 30s version.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like because
I went to the premiere. That's all.
You hear that?
I shared the carpet with Garbo.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I feel like because that is such an iconic, like, classic movie, and especially a classic Oscar winner, I wonder if that plays a factor. It probably doesn't. It's probably just in my head, but
great point. No remake has ever won Best Picture.
Great point. That's the other thing.
Yeah. We're not Brits, Jonatas. We're not fucking Brits. It's a different situation. We're not fucking Brits. Do you think you're Canadian because you live in America? It's 2 different countries. So, all right. Let's hit these Streamlabs Super Chats to get on out of here. I want to bring them up for everybody. And thank you to everybody who's hanging out with us here. 170 you all joining us. So please make sure you hit a like on this video and subscribe to the channel as we're growing, trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's right. I'm a crazy son of a bitch. I want to make that happen. Here we go. Josh Murray says Kiki Kwan and Brendan Fraser being favorites. Obviously, Encino Man has been slept on. Yeah, right. Where's Sean Astin's nomination, for God's sakes? Yeah, gentlemen.
Hey, man, a lot of people would argue he should have been nominated for Return of the King.
Maybe. I don't know. Derek Johnson saying, and that anonymous voter also said some crazy things about Top Gun and Till movie. Yeah, if you guys have seen that EW article where this anonymous voter came out and bashed the Woman King and bashed what that person called Viola Davis is crying about the nominee, and then claimed later on they'd never even seen the Woman King. So that tells you the level of some of the Oscar voters that we're dealing with. And I go back and forth with Jeff Snyder all the time about that. So we have great fights about that shit. So it's sad to see. Chris Corcoran says, God help us if we get a musical number in the slap.
Oh no.
Yeah,
they're
100% agree.
They're gonna do that.
Josh says real quick, what are the movies are you all surprised that you couldn't finish?
Well, we talked about Good Boys.
Yeah.
And for a silly comedy, not to be able to get to the end of it, it's like, that's too bad.
That's a fair point. Anything you haven't finished lately, Griffin, that you can remember over the last few years?
That I'm like surprised by? No, I mean, I walked out of Gods of Egypt because that movie was ass. So but I didn't expect anything great. I don't really walk out of movies, even if they're bad. I mean, the closest I came to walking out of one where I was like, I thought this was going to be good because everyone told me it was good was and actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think I did walk out of it. Maybe this was a while ago. It's Spring Breakers. I hated that movie. God. I thought that was terrible. But that was like years ago. So I other than that, I can't really think. Yeah,
the film was raping my mind. Derek Johnson says, "Great show so far, guys. I always enjoy watching." Thank you, Derek. Even down a Geek Buddy. John, did you see the report on the anonymous voter who said all that stuff about Viola Davis? I did. I was going to do a video on it, to be honest with you, but I pulled a muscle this morning and I had no rage left in my body. I'm barely hanging on as it is. So if I wake up in a better place tomorrow, maybe I'll do a quick 10-minute video on it. But it was disgusting to read. And I think it absolutely destroys this idea that people will vilify and question every section of this industry, but somehow Oscar voters are seen as these paragons of virtue who carry the golden chalice to the altar. And it's fuck that. They're human beings just like us. They're susceptible to bias and prejudice. And some of them don't take their jobs or their voting requirements seriously. I don't know how many people I spoke to in 20 years in LA who were assistants who filled out the ballots, Oscar ballots, for their bosses, for God's sake. So it's a ridiculous situation. And I think it just devalues the award more and more. So, all right, I think that's all the super chats. And we got one last one here all the way at the bottom. Let me throw it up here from Joel Ramirez. Joel says, "Hey, gents, much love from Chicago and shout out to FilmSpeak. Loving your content. Everything Everywhere All at Once flipped the script in a revolutionary way. I remember seeing it when it came out and felt incredibly moved. Glad it never went away." Yeah, guys, it's got to speak volumes, right? That it's stuck around this long.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and again, to quote your buddy, the Ian Snyder. I mean, the fact that a movie about a butt plug super soldier is in the conversation for Best Picture. That's hilarious. And again, I think 5 years ago it doesn't happen.
Yeah, fair point. Joel also follows up saying, "I actually had a great time with Babylon. I hope Justin wins for Best Score."
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Joel, I hard disagree.
I know Shannon hated the score for Babylon.
Wow.
Didn't like there wasn't much I liked about Babylon.
Oh man.
I mean, Damien Chazelle, he made my favorite movie of the year when it came out, which was Whiplash.
Yeah.
I was like, what an incredible movie. Then was the first then he made La La Land, which I'm like, okay, there's an audience. This isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
Then he made First Man that I'm like, there are moments of brilliance here.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the movie just doesn't work. And then we get to Babylon. And I mean, I think I thought about walking out just because it was just so freaking long. But also I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is just so not enjoyable to me. And then you get that whole montage at the end, like, please put me out of my misery.
Man.
Griffin, counter.
Oh yeah, dude, I fucking loved Babylon. That was my favorite movie of the year.
What? Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, I could not get enough of that. Just I was completely on this like wild ride that Damien Chazelle took us through, and just like the debauchery and mayhem of old Hollywood and the spectacle of it all, what that meant. Like, I don't know. There's so much to that movie that I just chewed on for days afterwards. And the score, I love that score so much. I've not been able to get it out of my head. It rules. It's so good. It's so good. I think Damien Chazelle's 4 for 4, but that's also me.
I also could not get the score out of my head, Griffin, but for an entirely different reason.
I do like the score for All Quiet on the Western Front. I hope it slides in there. Joe Ramirez says, I knew Shannon was coming for it. Ha ha ha. I love Babylon, but touche. There you go. Let's see. We got one last one. Dom, what's up, Dom? Representative there of Carbon Health. Dom says, James Jean did the poster art for 3 highly nominated films this year. Everything All at Once, Pinocchio, and The Whale. He's the real Oscar winner this year. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Can't deny that. Oh, real quick, animated Pinocchio or Last Wish? Which one's gonna win? Puss in Boots or Pinocchio? Real quick.
Oh, it's Pinocchio.
Yeah, I think so too. Griffin, same thing.
Yeah. That's another massive lock for the night, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Pinocchio is great. All right, one last Streamlab. We'll get out of here. Fredtastic says, hey, Geek Buddies, thanks for the show. I'm sorry, I'm running out of voice here. Everything Everywhere All at Once was a good movie, but I was way more impressed with the editing than the story. I do think it has an outside shot of doing a Silence of the Lambs and sweeping all the categories. Gentlemen, I'd be shocked.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I don't know. Yeah, I'll let Shannon answer that first. I got to think about that for a second.
You know what? I think if Martin McDonagh were not in the race, I think Everything All at Once could possibly do a sweep. But I think just the presence of Banshees makes that maybe not happen.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, and Banshees and All Quiet, I think that kind of trio there. It's not like, there's a world where I guess Everything Everywhere sweeps, but I just think they'll probably spread the love a little bit more than we're thinking going in. So
I think so. I think it's going to be a much more balanced Oscars than we expect.
Yeah.
And there will be surprises, which I think is going to be great.
Yeah,
all right, well, let's wrap it up there. You guys have been incredible hang out with us for almost 2 hours. Thank you very much. And big shout out to all the Streamlabs, the Super Chats, and the support you send to us here on the Geek Buddies, aka also the Outlaw Nation. Please remember, as we're wrapping up, to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button so you see when we're dropping content, live content, pre-recorded content, just like this. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at _geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow the Shire frolicking Michael Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you would like to follow the very present Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Thank you. And of course, you guys remember, we have the Geek Buddies is available on podcast and YouTube format. So if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, go and head over there and subscribe to the podcast. It's got its own feed. Leave some reviews, leave some rankings, help us move up the chain there and get more and more listeners on there of the podcast for the Geek Buddies. So, and big love. Thank you so much to Griffin Schiller over at FilmSpeak for joining us today. Please, Griffin, plug everything. Give us love so that we can bring you some new audiences over to your great content, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you guys so much for having me on again. It's been a blast. I don't usually get to talk about current events, movie news and stuff like this off the cuff. So it's a nice change of pace, and it's a lot of fun. So thank you again for having me on, and everyone who watched, donated, all that good stuff. It's been great to have you guys engage in the conversation. You can check out the FilmSpeak channel if you're interested. Just search FilmSpeak. Video essays every week, either 1 to 2, depending on how many we have in the works. I actually tomorrow, speaking of the Oscars, I have a video dropping on Elvis tomorrow, which is this massive freaking video that I've been working on for like a couple of months now. So wow. I'm like, yeah, I'm really, really stoked on it. I think it's going to be a good video when we put the finishing touches on it. So dropping tomorrow, and then videos on Creed, Scream, what else is coming out? Shazam, all the new stuff, John Wick's, all that good stuff. So if you want some deep dives into all those movies and more, you can head on over to the FilmSpeak channel, check that out. And then if you want to listen to my ramblings, Twitter at Griff Schiller.
Yeah. I'm looking for the thumbnail. Yeah, there it is. Let me bring it up real quick. This is the thumbnail that all want to be looking for. There you go. The soundtrack of America, ladies and gentlemen. That's the thumbnail we're looking for tomorrow when he drops it. Look at him using Austin Butler in that way. It's great stuff.
Look at that guy. Look at him.
Pretty guy.
Smoldering.
Boy, if he wins, is he going to do the Oscar? Is he going to do the Elvis accent? Well, we'll see.
I don't think he's stopped.
Yeah.
Maybe Will Smith will come up and slap him. Anyway, all right, let's get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you all madly. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Have a good weekend. And like I said, come and join me if you want for my live watch along of the Oscars on Sunday night. Until then, take care of yourselves. Be well. We'll talk to you next time on a brand new episode of The
Geek
Buddies.